is Mollena's Black History Minute, which is longer than a minute, 'cause I'm reclaiming my time. Yeah.
Hey, today's Black History Minute brought to you courtesy of Black History Flashcards from urbanintellectuals.com. Check them out, urbanintellectuals.com. Today, what-a-da-da, not a person, but a movement, the Harlem Renaissance. Let's see, the Harlem Renaissance from around the 1920s through the mid-1930s, or some would argue fucking today, because the idea of a renaissance of blackness still continues, right? Let's go to the videotape. Listed here as a cultural, social, and artistic expression, also called the New Negro Movement. And what was amazing about that is that, first of all, we were definitely claiming Negro as a way that we requested to be addressed with respect and nothing else. Colored was right out. Right out. It grew out of the changes that had taken place in the African American community since the abolition of slavery. See, what happened was, after, the Jim Crow South thing became a thing, a lot of black people migrated up north. A lot of families that had been free were migrating to the larger cities in the Northeast, specifically, obviously, New York we're talking about. And you now had people who were inheriting money instead of having to hard scrabble their way up from the bottom. So you had a new socioeconomic thing happening, you had a social thing happening, and you had a lot of folks who were having educations through, obviously, white colleges and universities, but also black focused colleges and universities. And so these folks were coming into the communities, owning their own businesses, hiring within their own communities, and black folks having their own area where they had power and influence within a larger metropolitan area was really a new thing. And of course, arts and letters followed right behind that. This was a period of time when African Americans were encouraged to celebrate their heritage, racial pride, creative expression, and intellectualism. Now, some folks, of course, are going to be like, yeah, intellectualism, man. And there still to this day is that conflict. But the idea that we as black people had our own way to express ourselves through the arts and letters was still fairly new, to white people at least, because, we know we've been doing it. Significant figures included Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, Claude McKay, Zora Neale Hurston, Bessie Smith, Paul Robeson, and Langston Hughes, which I swear to God y'all all have better heard of. If you haven't, let me read it again. Get a pen. I'll wait. You got a pen? Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, Claude McKay, Zora Neale Hurston, Bessie Smith, Paul Robeson, and Langston Hughes. Now keep that pen, because I want to focus on some folks whose names are not heard as often, like Billy Straythorn. Did we say Bessie Smith? Bessie Smith, yeah, she's in there. Gladys Bentley, Ma Rainey, frickin', who else? Half Pint Jackson, Sister Rosetta Tharpe. These are people who made huge names for themselves and were fairly openly queer, most of them. If not like flagrantly openly, at least it was sort of an open secret, like everyone fucking knew. And what was vital and important about this is that not only were they artists that were out in the community, being out, being open, and finding acceptance through their music and their art, and in that way also laying the groundwork not only for new musical forms to come out, but also for queer theory to be born in the black community. And some would say the root for queer theory in America really coming from these movements, from these communities where queer people were able to move about freely. There were women dressing in drag, men dressing in drag, singers who were openly gay, who had their lovers with them on the road, which was so fucking amazing and so gorgeous and beautiful. Now, that's not to say that, of course, the deeply conservative, more Christian aspects of the black community were not like, rah, rah, rah. And that would also sometimes harm people's career. But the fact that people were able to put that out there freely was amazing and liberating. So many artists, so many writers, so much innovation. Rock and roll was basically created at this time, which, for those of you who don't know, which is hilarious to me. Rock and roll was a slang term for fucking. That's what the music was about. It was about fucking, either just musically fucking, or actual fucking. So when white people started being like, oh, rock and roll music, of course, black people were like, yes, rock and roll. Why don't you? So get your brain around some of the awesomeness from music from the Harlem Renaissance. Especially look up Gladys Bentley, because this bitch was so fierce as hell. And Half Pint Jackson, who was just like singing, I think he had a song called Sissy Man Blues or something along those lines. Google that. It will rock your socks off that people were bringing this out there and putting that shit out there back in the day. Gotta have so much love and so much respect for the strength and fierceness of these folks. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day.